come into the well so we can get started? Will all the council members come into the well so we can get started? We got quorum. Madam Clerk, please call the roll. Here.
Bishop, Conwell, Davis, Gray, Harsh, House Jones, Hudson, Jones, Casey, Polensik, Santana, Shaw, Slife, Starr. You have a quorum, Mr. President.
Thank you. Will everyone rise for a moment of silence followed by the Pledge of Allegiance? Thank you.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
I'll make the following statement. This meeting of Cleveland City Council is a lawful meeting. Under Section 605.04 of the Codified Ordinances, no person with purpose to prevent or disrupt a lawful meeting shall do any act which obstructs or interferes with the due conduct of such meeting. Members of the public are invited to speak only under the rules set by this council. Disruptions, including but not limited to speaking out of turn and making loud noises and loud utterances, are in violation of the rules and interfere with the due conduct of this lawful meeting. Such disruptions may constitute a misdemeanor and a violation of Section 605.04. Anyone who disrupts this lawful meeting is in violation of the codified ordinances, commits misdemeanors, and is subject to prosecution. The following is the first and only warning. If this meeting is disrupted, I will gavel a halt to the proceedings and direct the assembled officers to escort any person participating in the disruption out of the chamber. Once persons participating in the disruption are outside of the chambers, the officers will close the doors, and the disruptors will be handled as directed by the Director of Public Safety. The council proceedings will not begin again until those that participated in the disruption have left the chamber and the chamber doors are closed. Disruptors will not be allowed back in the chamber after the meeting resumes. Again, this is the first and only warning. Madam Clerk, please dispense with the journal.
By Councilmember Shaw, that the reading of the minutes of the last meeting be dispensed with the journal approved, seconded by Councilmember Gray.
Thank you. We'll now move to public comment, and once again, every speaker has 3 minutes. I would ask all the speakers to recognize that your time, when you see yellow, that means to wrap it up. When you see red, that means to abruptly end, okay? All right, the first person that we have speaking, ask all council members to acknowledge the speakers. The first person to speak is Adrian Freeman from Ward 1. He's here to talk about the Senior Safety and Energy Retrofit Initiative. He is not representing anyone and not being paid by anyone. Mr. Freeman, you have the floor.
Yes, thank you. Again, I'm Adrian Freeman. Just an update from the Senior Safety and Energy Retrofit Initiative. Everything is going swell. I can see the light at the end of the tunnel, no jokes, no pun intended. I've made a few appointments with a few eyeballs who are looking at me and I'm looking at them, and hopefully I get into the office and we sit down and talk and gather those signatures, not just the support, so we can get them to Madam Clerk up there and at least have it on the record, maybe for my memoirs, but just have it on record, have it done officially. Talking to Director Mary, I'm very encouraged. Like I say, not to take up all the time, having gotten back with that issue of pulling numbers, like Councilman Nikki suggested, write it up. I don't know what Cleveland's rules of order is involved in it, but we shouldn't be arguing about coming up here speaking. It should be an orderly process. So I don't know what we do to get that in motion, but that's all I have to say. And the only other thing I have to say, Councilman Starr and Councilman District Representative Churchill, the next hottest issue I think is going to be eliminating these food deserts within the city of Cleveland. And that said, I'll yield.
Thank you, Mr. Freeman. Next, we have Juan Collado Diaz from Ward 12 to talk about accountability at City Hall. He's with the the Accountable Cleveland era. He's not being paid by anyone. Is Mr. Collado Diaz here? Mr. Collado Diaz. Mr. Collado Diaz going once, Mr. Collado Diaz going twice. Mr. Diaz is not here. Next, we have Michael Armstrong from Ward 11 to talk about form-based code pilot needs to be reviewed and fixed before city planning gets any more money to create new districts. He is not representing anyone and not being paid by anyone. Mr. Armstrong, you have the floor.
Good evening, City Council members. Ordinance 1398-2025 commits $125,000 or $500,000 over 4 years to hire consultants for city planning to create new form-based code zoning district areas throughout the city. Before funding this, why don't you require city planning to evaluate and revise the 4 existing FBC pilot areas you approved 2 years ago in ordinance number 347-2024? In section 3 of it, you added, the director of city planning shall provide all members of council a report every 6 months concerning the implementation and impact of the form-based code within each pilot area. 2 reports were required last year. Did you receive a copy? I reside in the Cadell FBC pilot area. For months, I've repeatedly requested these reports from city planning because it impacts me. They will not send them. Why? Did they not do the required reports? Are they even evaluating the current form-based code pilot areas? FBC example, 8902 Detroit. Nursing home addition site on 3 parcels. 1 parcel zoned Urban Flex 3, UX 3, and 2 parcels on West 89th zoned House 4, H4. One day, my West 89th neighborhood, to its surprise, sees their new 10-space parking lot being constructed between 2 homes. No one knew. This was quietly signed off by zoning in July of last year. They consider the whole site UX3. No relief, no variance, no map change required. Next example, 8400 Lake, 72 new apartment units, large development. Not against that, just another surprise. Cleveland Planning releases plans to the neighborhood the night before their CPC public hearing. Again, it's another site on 3 parcels in 2 zoning districts, IX3, Industrial Flex 7, IX7. Again, Cleveland Planning considers the whole site UX3. No relief, no variance, no map change required, just their administrative decision to view it that way. So what is the point of creating more FBC zoning districts within the community and approved by City Council if Cleveland Planning administratively changes them? Did you intend to give them that power? I may return with some more examples, but in the interim, please do not fund consultants to create more form-based code districts until they release their reports and the existing FBC areas are evaluated, fixed, and revised. Thank you.
Thank you. Next, we have Fauzi Badur from Ward 11. Fauzi is here to talk about the hyperscale data center. He's not representing anyone, not being paid by anyone. Mr. Badur, you have the floor.
Good evening. I'm just laying down like example of 2 neighboring states, Michigan and Ohio. Michigan, for the data center, is using solar renewable energy. Ohio is using fossil fuel. Michigan is using 600,000 gallons of water daily. Ohio will have to use at least minimum 6 million gallons of water. I wonder who's going to pay for it. In Michigan, no one in Michigan will have to pay a dime into this project. In Ohio, every house in the state of Ohio will have to pay $70 a month into their project, into their electric bill. I mentioned like 3 weeks ago, we're gonna take it to the people, and we did. Petitions is coming, and we just cleared the hurdle. The petition is coming to sign. We're gonna have to sign 413,000 signatures by July 1st. Because our state legislators And our outgoing governor just lay flat, don't want to do anything about it. So we the people, we're going to do it. We the people. We are the people. Somebody asked me, why would I speak to you since you have nothing to do with it? Because you, my council, you're the most important body to me. You're Cleveland Council, and you will affected by this as much as anybody in Ohio. So I'm hoping when we get the petitions very soon, you all can sign it, and you all can be part of it. I spoke about Michigan with the time I have Virginia. Virginia had a system similar to Ohio. In the last election, what they called social democrat, I call them free democrat, led a revolution. They were led by a great lady named Abigail Spanberger. She's the governor of the Commonwealth of Virginia now. Those Democrats swept through the election. They stood in the face of this data center. The data center was their main issue. And they beat hesitant Democrats in the primary, and they beat Republicans in the general election. And they all control now counties, cities, and the state legislature, and they working to straight up that system now. So I hope we can do it. We need you.
Time, thank you. Next, we have Desana E. Morgan. Desana E. Morgan is with Ward 11, and she's here to talk about AIDS awareness and making good choices for students in Ohio. She is not representing anyone and not being paid by anyone. Is Desana E. Morgan here? Desana E. Morgan? Is Desana E. Morgan here? Desana E. Morgan going once, Desana E. Morgan going twice. Desana is not here. Next, we have Stephanie Thomas. Stephanie Thomas is from Ward 12. Stephanie is here to talk about the local carcino institutions. I believe that's supposed to be correctional institutional system. She is not representing anyone and not being paid by anyone. Is Stephanie Thomas from Ward 12 here? Stephanie Thomas going once. Stephanie Thomas going twice. Stephanie Thomas is not here. Next, we have Sherry Baker. Sherry Baker is from Ward 1. She's here to talk about basement water backup resulting from nearby street work or water work and undersized pipe. She's not representing anyone and not being paid by anyone. Ma'am, you have the floor.
Good evening, council members. My name is Sherry Baker, and I'm here with several residents of Invermere Avenue who have all experienced the same devastating issue: sewage and stormwater backing up into our basements because the city's sewer system is undersized, overwhelmed, and because the city is making, or the city and sewer department is making a conscious decision not to redirect this contaminated water through combined sewer overflows, even though the system is designed to prevent backups into homes. We are not here with speculation. We are here with facts and with a clear understanding of how the city's own infrastructure decisions have created a capacity problem that is now harming homeowners on our street. A few blocks away, the city has already acknowledged responsibility for a similar situation where infrastructure changes caused water to back up into a home. That acknowledgement matters because the same pattern is happening on Invermere. Here is what we know. As part of the Joanne Drive Sanitary Relief Sewer Project, the city installed a 48-inch diameter sanitary relief sewer uphill from Invermere. That pipe is fully in place and capable of carrying a much larger volume of water. But the water flowing from that 48-inch pipe is being pushed downhill into Invermere, where the sewer lines are only 8 inches in diameter. The 8-inch pipe running down Invermere connects into a perpendicular 8-inch main on Lee Road, which is also undersized. So we now have a system where a massive 48-inch pipe is feeding directly into a series of 8-inch pipes that were never designed to handle that volume. This creates a severe predictable bottleneck, and when the system becomes overwhelmed, the water has nowhere to go except back into the basements of homes along that path. This is not a coincidence. This is not a random weather event. This is a capacity mismatch created by the city's own infrastructure upgrades uphill without corresponding upgrades downstream. I want to also address Cleveland's combined sewer system In this city, both sanitary sewage and stormwater flow through the same pipes. During heavy rains, the city has the ability, or the sewer department has the ability, to open combined sewer overflows, which divert contaminated water into a water body instead of backing up into our homes. These backups are not just weather-related, they're a result of a conscious operational decision. This is not just a financial burden, it's a physical and mental health burden. I live with lupus and asthma. Every backup exposes me to mold, bacteria, and toxins that directly threaten my health. Every time it storms, it brings fear, anxiety, and the possibility of another loss. We are asking the city to take responsibility in the sewer department for what's happening on Invermere. We are not here to assign blame, we are
Time.
here. Thank
Thank
you.
you. Last, we have Damon Smith from Ward 9. He's here to talk about the East Side Market closure and neon situation, and what is the city doing for the 21 employees that are laid off. Damon is not representing anyone, and he is not being paid by anyone.
Good afternoon, Council. Or should I say good evening? Can you hear me now? Okay. My name is Damon Smith. I was an employee of the East Side Market that was shut down last Tuesday night at 1:30 in the morning. That we were scheduled to be open. Now you have 20 employees that don't have a job, and the community with senior citizen high-rise that don't have a place to go to get food. Everybody can't drive, everybody can't get on the bus, and then what happened to the employees? You just cut off all our benefits. And that was done by the city for not renewing the lease, and then shutting down the market, and then giving the food to the pantry. So that was $148,000 that should have been in the community for the other people, senior citizens like myself, to be able to eat. Nobody thought about the employees that was there. And I'm trying to understand why, because we wasn't responsible for anything as far as money. We weren't responsible for any of that. But we lost our jobs. I'm behind on my lights, gas, all of that. I'm 68 years old. How many people you think gonna hire me right now? I'd like to get an answer from my councilman right there. Mr. Conwell, will you have an answer for me?
Sir, please continue. This is not back and forth right now. Please continue. Thank you.
All right, well, like I said, it's already a food desert in Cleveland in the black community. That right there, being on the corner of 105 and St. Clair, there's nothing in between. You got Save-A-Lot on one end, and you got Save-A-Lot on Superior. There's no other grocery stores other than the new one they just opened over on Carnegie. So what about the community itself? Okay, it's already decimated. No CVS, no Rite Aid, all those things are gone. We need help in the city of Cleveland, especially on the east side of Cleveland. And I appreciate if you guys would take it under consideration, because if you can do Shaker Square or the West Side Market, why couldn't you do the East Side Market? That's my time. I thank you.
Thank you, sir. That concludes public comment. Madam Clerk, please share communications.
File number 454-2026 from Council President Blaine A. Griffin, recommending approval of the appointment of Councilmember Tanmai Shaw, Ward 12, to the Fair Employment Wage Board. from the Ohio Division of Liquor Control, file number 435, 2026, regarding a new license application at 14002 Trisket Road, Ward 15. File number 436, 2026, regarding a transfer of ownership at 12702 Lorraine Avenue, Ward 13. File number 437, 2026, regarding a stock application at 17446 Lorraine Avenue, Ward 15.
Thank you. Are there any condolence resolutions?
Resolutions of condolence by Councilmember Starr for Devontae Krishan Stubbs, by Councilmember Bishop for Robert Lewis, by Councilmember Gray for Helena Ward, by Councilmember Slife for Anthony Vincent Gutowski.
Thank you. Do we have any other condolences? I do want to add two. One is for Mr. David M. Gully Jr. And then I'd also like to hold out a number for Laura McGrath, the wife of former police chief and safety director Michael McGrath. Councilman Brian Casey.
Mr. President, can you please hold out a number for Alvin DeYork Thomas Jr., the former or the husband of Sue Bungard? Thank you.
Thank you. Do we have any other condolence resolutions? Any other condolence resolutions? I do not see any other condolence resolutions. Will all council members rise for a moment of silence? Thank you. Are there any congratulatory resolutions?
Resolutions of congratulations by Councilmember House Jones for Sienna Gornt. Resolutions of recognition by Councilmember Griffin for Yvonne Gardner-Witt, by Councilmember Conwell for Glenville High School Class of 1966 reunion, by Councilmember Griffin for Am Public Works Association National Public Works Week, by Councilmember Griffin for Rosalie Bell Williams Thomas on her 100th birthday, by Councilmember Griffin for Anthony C. Nicholson Esquire, Taller Works Music and Education honoree, by Councilmember Griffin for Reverend Richard Parker, Taller Works Music and Education honoree, by Councilmember Griffin for Taller Williams, Taller Works Music and Education honoree, by Councilmember Griffin for Derek Lockett Jr., Taller Works Music and Education honoree, by Councilmember Griffin for Dale Edwards, Taller Works Music and Education honoree.
Thank you. Are there any other congratulatory resolutions? I believe that's it. We'll now go to presentations, and I believe Councilman Chris Harsh has a resolution and a presentation. And I would ask if we could open up the well for our guests. I believe they're coming on this side. So if we could open up the well for our guests. Please join us right here to our right. Councilman Harsh, you have the floor.
Thank you, Mr. President. I'm joined here tonight by Gary Kaplan and Mike San Giacomo, who are with the Siegel and Schuster Society. I've always contended that it's more fun to elevate ideas than people because ideals last forever and never mess up in the process. And one of the greatest ideals we've ever constructed in this country was the ideal of Superman. I don't know how this thing works. You got it? All right. So Superman, as we all know, was born right here in Cleveland. And today we are celebrating the creating of Superman Day in the city of Cleveland. I'm not going to read all of this, but I'm going to read two of them. You guys know how this goes, right? Whereas the members of City Council are proud to recognize the Siegel and Schuster Society and designate April 18th as Cleveland Superman Day. April 18th is the day that Superman first appeared in print in Action Comics #1. Then whereas something else, and then whereas Siegel and Schuster Society has worked tirelessly to promote Cleveland as the birthplace of Superman, one of the most recognizable and beloved characters in popular culture throughout the world and a symbol of the enduring ideals of truth, justice, and the American way. And I think we can all agree that truth, justice, and the American way are things we're striving for. The truth being the bedrock of our existence. We don't show up here one day without some truth in the world. Justice, our attempt to correct the wrongs that have been committed in the past, something America's dedicated to. And the American way, this great vision that we are still trying to figure out because we are a work in progress. And I think it's wonderful that Superman from very early on was dedicated to truth, justice, and the American way. And I don't want to hog this, so any colleagues that want to come up here, this is not just for me and Conway. Of course, Superman was created in Glenville, and I'm sure you want to say something about that.
That's right. He knows that. He knows that. Superman is what? The 4-time champion Glenville Top-Blooders. Superman was a top-blooder. You know, right there on Kimberly. Superman was a top-blooder. And he represents the city of Cleveland, and we need to take that street, put dollars in there, and then we'll fix it up. And so everybody know around the world that Superman was a mighty, 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 mighty top-blooder.
All right.
That's nationalism.
Get out of here, okay. Go crash another party. I read the first Action Comics in preparation. I did a little research for this. And in the very first Action Comics, they introduced Superman. And I'll let these gentlemen talk a little bit more about it. But the very first thing Superman ever does in print is intervene in government. He kicks down the door of the governor's mansion to stop the execution of an innocent man on death row. So the very first thing that Superman ever does is intervene with an unjust act that the government was about to commit. So I hope today we can correct the wrongs of the past by recognizing the Schuster Society, Siegel and Schuster Society with Cleveland Superman Day. Gentlemen, this is for you, and I would invite you both to come up here and say a few words if you like. You got it?
Okay.
All right.
Thank you. Just put this down for me. Hi, my name is Mike Sangiacomo. I'm the vice president of the Siegel and Schuster Society, and I was a reporter for the Plain Dealer for 30 years and harassed you people in city council to do more about Superman, as Mr. Conwell knows, and others. We finally started the Siegel and Schuster Society ourselves to honor Superman. And we're responsible for the license plates, for the exhibit at the airport, and a bunch of other things, which I'll let Gary speak about in a minute. But I just wanted to say, I know you guys are busy and you've got a lot of things to do and a lot of problems to solve. Just keep 4 words in mind at all times. What would Superman do? Thank you. Oh, I'd like to introduce the president of the Siegel and Schuster Society, Jerry Siegel's cousin, Gary Kaplan.
Thank you, Mike. Many people ask me, how did 2 11th graders at Glenville High School, how did they create the very first comic book superhero? It was 1933. And my mother and her brothers and sisters would often go over Jerry Siegel's family home on Kimberly Avenue near St. Clair. And my mom was 8 years old at the time, and Jerry Siegel was 14. And he would pretend that he had X-ray vision and that he could see through the walls and tell them, my mom and her siblings, what they were wearing. And he could pretend that he could fly, and he would jump off the top of the stairs. So he had this all in his mind. He was 14 then. And he was looking for an illustrator to illustrate his ideas. He had so many ideas. And so he asked my mom's older brother to be the illustrator. But he said, I know someone better than me. He's much better at art, and his name is Joe Schuster. And he lives in the Kinsman neighborhood, but his family's moving to the Glenville neighborhood this summer, and the two of you need to get together. So they got together in 9th grade, and it was like 2 chemicals coming together to create magic. And they started creating all kinds of characters, and by 11th grade, they created Superman. And they tried to publish him, and they sent their idea to different publishers. And they did this over and over again. And every publisher rejected them. They all said the same thing. Nobody would be interested in reading about a superhero because they didn't understand what a superhero was because there were no superheroes. This was the very first one. And that's why it was so difficult to publish. But after 5.5 years, in 1938, on April 18th, the date we're talking about here for Superman Day, Superman was finally published in Action Comics #1. And with a matter of days, it became a national sensation. The printing company couldn't even print enough copies of this comic book to keep up with the demand. And years later, they came up with other creators came up with ideas like Captain America and Wonder Woman and Batman. But it all started in Cleveland with Superman. So in Glenville. And so it's important to remember that. Jerry Siegel and Joe Shuster didn't just create Superman, they created the genre, the superhero genre, which today is bigger than ever, not just in America, all over the world. You can be in any continent and you can see people wearing t-shirts with the Superman S on it. But hardly any of them know that it all started in Cleveland, Ohio. And our mission statement of our nonprofit, and we're all volunteers, was to put Cleveland on the map as the place it all started. And we put up a $1.4 million Superman Plaza downtown on the corner of St. Clair and Ontario, right in front of the new Huntington Convention Ballroom. And all the money came from private donations, people giving $10, $20. It took us many years. We never gave up, just like Jerry Siegel and Joe Shuster didn't give up after 5.5 years. It was perseverance. That's how they got it published. And that's what we had too. And we finally got it up. And now they're showing the Superman Plaza during Cavalier games and during the Browns games. And last week it was on ESPN, national television. So it is great for the city of Cleveland. And I want to thank City Council and the Council President for approving Superman Day on April 18th. In fact, April 18th, which is in a couple weeks, our nonprofit is having a luncheon, a celebration luncheon of Superman. And feel free to go online if you want to come to the luncheon. It's going to be great. Thank you very much.
Yeah, we do that. You know, Smallsville is Glenville.
You know, the other guy. Yeah. It's Reeves, Christopher Reeves. Do we leave this up for the rest of the?
Madam Clerk, please do. First reading emergency ordinances referred for administrative review and committee review.
Ordinance 453, 2026, by Council Members Jones, Bishop, Casey, and Griffin by departmental request, authorizing Director of Public Utilities to execute various deeds of easement, granting to the Northeast Ohio Regional Sewer District certain easement rights at several city-owned properties located along Mill Creek Corridor through the Carouche Basin located in the cities of Cleveland and Warrensville Heights as part of their Mill Creek Restoration Project, and declaring the easement rights not needed for the city's public use. Ordinance 455, 2026, by Council Members Casey and Griffin by departmental request, authorizing Director of Public Utilities to enter into a utility repairs agreement with the County of Cuyahoga to pay or reimburse directly related costs incurred by the county for the repair of storm and sanitary sewer lines on an as-needed basis for a period not to exceed 2 years, with one option to renew for an additional 1-year period, exercisable by the Director of Public Utilities. Ordinance 456, 2026, by Council Members Starr, House Jones, Santana, and Griffin by departmental request, authorizing the Director of Community Development to lease certain property located at 1301-25 Chester Avenue to Playhouse Square Foundation or its designee for the purpose of operating a parking lot for a term not to exceed 10 years, authorizing the Director of Community Development to enter into an option to purchase agreement with Playhouse Square Foundation or its designee in connection with the sale of the property, authorizing the Commissioner of Purchases and Supplies to convey the property and which is no longer needed for the city's public use. Ordinance 460, 2026, by Councilmember Starr, allocating 50% of marijuana legalization initiative revenues received by the city for the use of Cleveland City Council and appropriating these funds to the established Neighborhood Equity Fund to benefit the neighborhoods and the residents of Cleveland.
Yes, can we have first reading emergency ordinances to be passed?
Ordinance 452, 2026, by Councilmember Griffin by departmental request to amend sections 8, 30, 35, 37, 38, and 39 of Ordinance 194, 2021, as amended by various ordinances relating to the salaries for various classifications. Ordinance 458, 2026, by Councilmember Starr, authorizing the Director of Finance to make payment from the Neighborhood Equity Fund to Care Alliance Health Center for health screenings.
Read the motion to suspend the rules.
By Councilmember Shaw, that the rules be suspended and the legislation just read be placed on final passage, seconded by Councilmember Gray.
Call the roll.
Griffin, Bishop, Conwell, Davis, Gray, Harsh, House Jones, Hudson, Jones, Casey, Polensek, Santana, Shaw, Slife, Starr. 15 yeas.
Call the roll on passage.
Griffin, Bishop, Conwell, Davis, Gray, Harsh, House Jones, Hudson, Jones, Casey, Polensek, Santana, Shaw, Slife, Starr. 15 yeas.
Thank you. First reading, emergency resolutions are referred for administrative review and committee review.
Resolution 457, 2026, by Council Members Shaw, Bishop, Polensek, and Griffin by departmental request, declaring the necessity and intention to appropriate property for the public use of constructing new Fire Station 23 for the Division of Fire located at 10022 Madison Avenue. Resolution 459, 2026, by Councilmember Griffin, declaring the month of April as Child Abuse Prevention Month annually in the city of Cleveland.
Thank you. Second reading, emergency ordinances to be passed.
Ordinance 34, 2026, by Council Members Bishop, Slife, and Griffin by departmental request, authorizing the Director of Capital Projects to enter into a license and right of entry agreement granting the National Railroad Passenger Corporation, also known as Amtrak or its designee, the right to use and occupy city-owned property located adjacent to the Cleveland Memorial Shoreway to operate its rail passenger station for a period of 2 years, continuing month to month thereafter, and to make the public improvement of installing and maintaining Americans with Disabilities Act or ADA compliant improvements at the site. Ordinance 89, 2026, by Council Members Bishop, Santana, and Griffin by departmental request, authorizing the Director of Parks and Recreation to enter into one or more agreements with Urban Bridges for the exchange of easements, authorizing the Director to execute deeds of easement, granting to Urban Bridges certain utility easement rights on city-owned property, declaring the easement rights not needed for the city's public use, and authorizing the Director to accept from Urban Bridges certain easement rights needed for mutual rights of entry and exiting access. Ordinance 230, 2026, by Council Members Slife and Griffin by departmental request, authorizing the Director of Port Control to exercise the first option to renew a contract with Team Hallahan LLC to provide lobbying services to assist with legislative, regulatory, and policy issues with the Cleveland Airport System. Ordinance 281, 2026, as amended, by Council Members Bishop and Griffin by departmental request, authorizing the Director of Parks and Recreation to enter into one or more concession agreements for the operation of a first-class food and beverage service at Cleveland City Hall cafeteria for a period not to exceed 2 years with a one-year option to renew, exercisable by the Director of Parks and Recreation. Ordinance 282, 2026, as amended, by Council Members Bishop and Griffin by departmental request, authorizing the Director of Parks and Recreation to enter into one or more concession agreements for the operation of a first-class food and catering service in the City Hall Rotunda, and for making the rental of the Rotunda for catered events for a period not to exceed 2 years, with a one-year option to renew, exercisable by the Director of Parks and Recreation.
Thank you. Read the motion to suspend the rules.
By Councilmember Shaw, that the rules be suspended and the legislation just read be placed on final passage, seconded by Councilmember Gray.
Call the roll.
Griffin, Bishop, Conwell, Davis, Gray, Harsh, House Jones, Hudson Jones, Casey, Polensek, Santana, Shaw, Slife, Starr. 15 yeas.
Call the roll on passage.
Griffin, Bishop, Conwell, Davis, Gray, Harsh, House Jones, Hudson Jones, Casey, Polensek, Santana, Shaw, Slife, Starr.
The chair acknowledges Councilwoman House Jones.
please add me as a sponsor on 34-2026.
So noted.
Thank you.
15 yeas.
Thank you. Second reading emergency resolutions to be adopted.
Resolution 414-2026 by Council Members Griffin and Davis and Mayor Bibb, supporting the Ohio Commission for the United States Semi-Quincentennial and endorses their mission to educate, preserve, innovate, and celebrate every Ohioan in every county.
Thank you.
Resolution 415-2026 by Council Members Bishop, Conwell, Davis, Gray, Griffin, Harsh, House Jones, Hudson, Jones, Casey, Polensek, Santana, Shaw, Slife, Star, designating April 18th as annual Cleveland Superman Day.
Thank you. Read the motion to suspend the rules.
By Councilmember Shaw, that the rules be suspended and the legislation just read be placed on final passage. Seconded by Councilmember Gray.
Call the roll.
Griffin, Bishop, Conwell, Davis, Gray, Harsh, House Jones, Hudson, Jones, Casey, Polensek, Santana, Shaw, Slife, Star. 15 yeas.
Call the roll on adoption.
Griffin, Bishop, Conwell, Davis, Gray, Harsh, House Jones, Hudson, Jones, Casey, Polensek, Santana, Shaw, Slife, Star. 15 yeas.
Thank you. We'll move to introductions. Do we have any introductions? Any introductions? I do not see any introductions from the floor. We'll move to announcements. Councilman Michael Polensky.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. We have one of our neighborhood activists here from Ward 10, Sigourney. Sigourney, please rise. Are you still out here, Sigourney?
Sigourney, please
Come on.
rise.
Thank you.
Are there any announcements? Any announcements? Any announcements? I do not see any announcements. We'll move to miscellaneous, and I want to caution everyone, the rule and the limit is 4 minutes. However, a council person can request extra time. The only two council members that have requested extra time has been Conwell and Polensek. So I want to make sure that everybody adheres to the 4-minute rule unless you request extra time, okay? So I'll start out with Councilman Starr, and then once I go to Councilman Starr, then I'll come up with Councilman Polensek and Councilman Conwell.
Councilman, you can be all in the picture. Come on. You go. No. Yes, you can. Yes, you can. Good evening. Tonight, I just rise to speak on ordinance number 460-2026. Thank you, Mr. President. Thank you, my colleagues. Today, we are considering legislation that is fundamentally about respecting the will of the voters and reinvesting in our neighborhoods. In November of 2023, the people of Ohio, and overwhelmingly here in Cleveland, made a clear decision. They voted to legalize recreational marijuana. And they did so with an expectation not just of legalization, but of community benefits. Here in Cleveland, roughly 3 out of 4 voters supported that measure. That wasn't even close. That was a mandate. Now, as a result of that decision, the city of Cleveland is receiving new revenue through the host committee cannabis fund generated on a 10% tax on adult use of cannabis sale, with 30% of that revenue coming directly to municipalities like ours. This is a new revenue. And the question before us today is simple: who benefits? This ordinance answers that question clearly: the people, the neighborhoods, every ward in the city. This legislation does 3 things. First, it ensures that 50% of these marijuana legalization revenues are allocated to the Cleveland City Council, the body closest to the residents we serve. Second, it directs those fundings into a neighborhood equity fund, an existing transparent mechanism that allows us to move resources directly into our communities. And third, it guarantees that those dollars are distributed equally across all 15 wards, ensuring fairness, balance, and accountability in how we invest. Colleagues, let's be clear. This is not about taking away from the administration. This is about shared governance. 50% remains with the administration. 50% comes to council. That is balance. That is partnership. That is how local government should work. But more importantly, this is about equity and justice. For years, decades, many of our neighborhoods were disproportionately impacted by marijuana enforcement, arrests, records, barriers to opportunity. Now that legalization is here, we have a responsibility to ensure that those same communities see the benefit, not just in theory, but in real investment, home repair, youth programs, violence prevention, workforce development, community stabilization. That is what this ordinance makes possible, and we've built in accountability. Every project funded will require, obviously, review by council and law, approved through separate legislation, monthly reporting by the finance director. This is not no discretionary spending in the dark. This is transparent, trackable, and accountable investment. Colleagues, this is a moment to align our budget with the will of the people, a moment to ensure that new revenue does not sit idle, but is put to work where it matters most. Block by block, neighborhood by neighborhood, ward by ward, and I'll close with this. Legalization created opportunity. This ordinance ensures that this opportunity is shared fairly, shared transparently, and shared with the resident who made it possible. I respectfully ask for your support, colleagues. Thank you.
Next, we have Councilman Michael Polisic.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, my honorable colleagues, members of the administration. I rise to discuss and to talk about what we experienced this weekend within the Collinwood and Glenville communities. Mr. Chairman, we all know when storms roll through the city, terrible storms, and we've seen that. Windstorms, we've seen terrible rainstorms. In fact, I listened very intently to the young lady who spoke about the flooded basements. There were many flooded basements on the northeast side because we had 3.5 inches of water in that short period of time from approximately the Bracknell border east. So I'm very much aware of all the challenges that we have with our aging infrastructure. But Mr. Chairman, what we experienced over the weekend and starting on early, sometimes it was, some people believe it was late Thursday, most people believe it was early Friday, that the power went out on the northeast side. I started getting calls again in my neighborhood on Thursday about the power being out. And Mr. Chairman, I fielded those calls because I got the complaints from irate residents about they could not get through to Cleveland Public Power, could not get through. And they sat on the phone for God knows how long trying to get through because their power was out. There were no public pronouncements made, nothing went out to the local news media to inform the greater community as to the situation that we were confronted with. Mr. Chairman, I don't have to tell anyone on the northeast side of the city, Passover and Easter are very important. They were I can always remember from the time I was a kid, how important those dates were. And to hear people tell me, and residents tell me they could not celebrate Passover on Saturday for celebrations they had planned. And got nothing back from CPP as to when the power could be restored. And then again, no indication as to when the power would be restored for Easter, when people went out and bought all kind of food for Easter celebrations. Easter's a big deal in the greater Collinwood and Glenville neighborhood. It's always been like that. Folks want to be together, they want to be with families, moms and grandmas. Couldn't cook, couldn't bake. If you had an electric stove, electric oven, you're out of luck. And if you even had a gas stove with the electric igniter, folks had problems with those. No press releases, nothing as it pertains to what was going on. And what's really upsetting to me is when I went out there and drove the neighborhood, Mr. Chairman, and my colleagues saw no trouble crews out there on Saturday. Beautiful sunny day, no trouble crews. And residents were going out because they were trying to charge their cell phones in their cars as well, riding around and calling me and saying, Councilman, we don't see anybody out here. Yet right up 140th is the East Side Maintenance Facility for CPP, for entire East Side. So again, here's Easter. It's Easter Sunday morning. Folks can't go to church, couldn't take showers, couldn't get ready in the dark. Easter dinners canceled. grandma's on the phone and mom's sobbing on the phone to me. And Mr. Chairman, I'm going to read a email I got from a very prominent resident in the Glenville neighborhood, very prominent. Was addressed to me. The infrastructure needs improvement. It's old and dated. They can't keep putting a Band-Aid on the problem. We're paying a cheaper rate, supposedly, but we're getting what we pay for in regards to service and reliability. I'm probably going to switch companies because of reliability and power surges when power is finally restored. A recent power surge knocked out my igniter on my electric start gas stove. Oven didn't work for Easter. I'm done. I'm considering moving out of the city of Cleveland. This is a prominent resident who grew up in the Glenville neighborhood talking about moving out of the city because of frickin' power constantly goes off on 124th Street and all those streets around there in Glenville. Same thing within Collinwood Village. Now, there comes a point, and I want to thank the chairman of the Utilities Committee for raising concerns about the reliability about the system. This came up during the budget hearings, Mr. Chairman. And what I'm saying is this. I walked these streets. I'm the only one left here that walked the streets to save Cleveland Public Power because people wanted to sell it. The group of us, and then Mike White, I can go down all the list of the group of us that worked to keep Cleveland Public Power. We saved it. But, Mr. Chairman and my honorable colleagues, Cleveland Public Power's got big problems. It's got problems. It needs to be upgraded. The grid, there's more demand upon the grid than ever before, and we're not getting it fixed, and it keeps going out, and people are getting upset. And a store owner, he slept on the floor in his store because his security system went out, his power was out, his security, and he couldn't get his rolling shutters down, and he was worried about, could someone attempt to break it? He slept on the floor all weekend. That's what we experienced. And I sat in my car, in my son's car, in the driveway at my daughter's house, on the phone because they were tired of me on the phone in the house during Easter at my daughter's house. I sat in my car with my call logs, writing down the folks that are calling me, trying to return a phone call, and I couldn't tell them nothing. I couldn't tell them when the power was going to be restored. So about 8:30 yesterday, it started coming on in the neighborhood. Think about this, the whole weekend. No announcements, no pronouncements, no nothing to tell people what to expect. Mr. Chairman, our citizens deserve better. There's got to be some resolution. You can't keep talking about spending hundreds of millions of dollars on the lakefront and you can't get the power fixed in Collinwood and Glenville. That ain't cutting it no more around here. Our priorities, we got to redefine our priorities here. Priorities are screwed up around here. It's about quality of life issues. It's about city services. That's what we have to focus on. People better wake up. We got problems here. We got problems in Cleveland Public Power. So again, I want to thank the chairman of the Utilities Committee who knows that all too well. I want to thank you, Mr. Chairman, and other members, because we've all experienced it to some extent. But what I experienced over this weekend was outrageous. Outrageous. And not being able to respond to me, to all those doggone emails I sent in, it was insulting to me that my folks were like living in a third world nation. That's not the way we do business around here. The mayor's got to understand that. He's got to show leadership on Cleveland Public Power. We got to make some changes here. We got to make the improvements. Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and my honorable colleagues.
Thank you. Councilman Kevin Conwell.
Thank you very much. I want to echo what Councilmember Mike Polinsky said. Our phones were just blowing up ever since Thursday night. And now I did reach out to the Director of Public Utilities, and he took my phone calls. And he took my phone calls with residents on the phone. Isn't that true? You and I talked, and I had Marcia Lane on the phone. I talked with you. I gave Greg Wheeler your phone number, because I was giving out your phone number. They was tearing us up, and rightfully so. Rightfully so. The guy that he mentioned on East 124th Street, it was his third time going to a hotel. In a month. Within a month, his third time going to a hotel. And then he texts me again. He said, I don't know when it's going to go off again. And then another lady, I called you Sunday morning, and she drove your neighborhood, and she said the lights was on in your neighborhood, but they weren't on my part of Collinwood. I said, no, they're not. Let me call Michael. I just got finished talking with him. They're not on. People were driving to see what lights were on and what lights was not on. Also, medical conditions also. Not just the holidays, they were talking about their loved ones that needed electricity for their medical conditions, and that's very, very important. And they had to leave their homes to go to hotels so that they could have electricity. That's not good. And Councilmember Mike Polensik is definitely correct. The residents in the Glenville and the Collinwood neighborhood was talking about moving and leaving the neighborhood. Isn't that correct? They were talking about leaving. You got to give them quality. They deserve that. They deserve that, and it's very, very important. So it's very, very bad, and it's the third time. Not the first time, but the third time. So we're going to have to look at lessons learned, and we hope, Chair Brian Casey, that you call a hearing on it, and we bring them to the table to seek to understand. Now, also, I mentioned Sunday night to the utilities director when we were on the phone with the resident, and I invited the utilities director to my meeting on April 16th at True Vine Baptist Church, 1117 East 105th Street, from 5:30 to 7 o'clock, and I have to reach out to the residents to let them know that he's there so we can seek to understand what's going on. And that's very, very important to me. So we were out there, it was rough. I want to move right along, and let me say this about Neon as well. I want to thank you, David Margolius, and the mayor's administration for talking with the residents at Neon, and you've been reached out to them about working at Dave's, a job that they can go to so that they can work there. They didn't want to mention that. And that's why some people said, Councilman, it's bad we can't respond back. And they know it too. They know it. And some other issues was in that store. I didn't close the store, and I didn't get a word to close the store, but there was some other issues in the store also when the city went there to clean the store out. And they don't want to talk about that on the floor. And they don't want to talk about the administration owing hundreds of thousands of dollars to Cuyahoga County as well as to the city of Cleveland. So it was going to come to a head. So we'll move forward. We're meeting. I met with the mayor afterwards, and he promised me we're going to put together a project team to explore bringing another grocery store, quality grocery store, in the Glenville, Collinwood, as well as we reach it to the Huff community as well. So he gave me his word. We're going to put that together so we can benefit people and to make sure that food desert is taken care of. You know, so we heard them with jobs. We heard them with other things. I want to say this. I'm not going to mention. Last week, I just want to set the record straight. I'm not going to mention anyone's name. I just want to set the record straight about the red light cameras that I mentioned earlier. And I was told to check the receipts. I know in the receipts, going back looking, and it has in here, as far as I can tell, the red light cameras was first initiated by Mayor Jane Campbell and sponsored by Sweeney, White, and Jackson. First initiated by her. It was on May the 2nd, 2005. Now, I don't want to mention, after that, it was 5 other pieces of legislation passed. Ordinance number 28109 was passed by Conwell, Cleveland, and Sweeney. Ordinance number 20812 was passed by Conwell, Mitchell, and Sweeney. Ordinance number 65013, the red light camera, was sponsored and passed by Conwell, Mitchell, and Kelly. And Ordinance 1072, I just want to put the record straight. I know, it was something funny. I said, wait a minute. I know when I went to the National League of Cities that I brought back some legislation on the red light cameras. So 1072-13 was passed August 14th by Councilman Conwell and Johnson. When you come to the floor, this stuff means a lot to me. You got to be able to push good character. That's what I'm looking for. To be nice is good character, because it's important, and people are going to go back and check, and that's important to do that. Honesty, credibility, and integrity is so important, so I did pull the receipts. Here's the receipts right here. And it was said to me not to pull, hey, go check the receipts. I said, okay, I'm going to pull the receipts. And the receipts are pulled, so I'll leave it right there. Also, we were talking about speeding. City Council in 2015 reached out to Cleveland Clinic on that issue about African American males being racially profiled. And they wrote and implemented a white paper for us. And it was narrating, and I'll share it with you, Councilmember Mike Polensik, and I will share it with you also, Councilmember Stott, from 2015, how they agreed with me talking about racial profiling with African American males, and I'll share it with you when Cleveland City Council agreed with them of what I was talking about. I just bought the receipts. That's all I did, Councilman. Thank you, and God bless.
Thank you. I have Councilwoman House Jones and then Councilman Casey.
Good afternoon, everyone. Hopefully everyone knows that we have an election starting tomorrow. The 2026 primary election will be starting tomorrow through Tuesday, May 5th. And I just want to encourage people to please exercise your right to vote. I will say for those who receive SNAP benefits, food assistance, many people do not realize what is going on and the really significant impacts here that is going to happen here in our community as a result of the federal bill. It used to be a 50-50 split when it came to SNAP benefits. As a result of the bill, they are now switching to a 75 to 25% split, meaning states are responsible for 75% of the administrative costs, 25% for the federal government. What does that look like in today's terms? This effect won't go into place until October of this year. Ohio is slated to lose about $38 million. The state's solution to that was to allocate $12.5 million of the $38 million that is going to be lost. And they indicated out of that $12.5 million, they split that $12.5 million equally to 88 counties. So that means each county in Ohio gets $225,000, give or take. So that means a place like Cuyahoga County that has about 1.2 million people gets the same amount of money as Vinton County, which has 12,000 people. This is going to have significance, and when we think about that loss overall, Cuyahoga County just this year is slated to lose about $7.5 million in food assistance benefits. It is significantly more going into 2027. You're talking upwards of $500 million or more. The stuff that is being unleashed on people is very real. This is just food. Everyone who is registered, if you are not registered, please get registered. But for those people who are registered, if you are receiving food benefits, vote. We are voting for a U.S. Senator. We are voting for a congressperson. We are voting for a governor in Ohio, a state auditor, treasurer, all attorney general, judges. But these, I'm talking about SNAP right now because there's a partnership between the federal government and the state government where people have made decisions to indicate those who are in the most need will not be getting resources. And so if you want to have a little bit of a say, I would strongly suggest you to exercise your right to vote because, again, this is the system that we have, a representative democracy. Please exercise your right to vote and go vote beginning tomorrow. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilwoman. Have Councilman Brian Casey.
Thank you, Mr. President. Since the weekend was brought up, I want to let people know that I had residents out for more than 4 days myself. We had flooding on West 130th where you couldn't get past. We had flooding on 150th where you couldn't pass through 150th. So these situations aren't just geared toward one neighborhood in the city of Cleveland. It's not like Cleveland Public Power wakes up in the morning and says, hey, let's shut the power off to one neighborhood or another neighborhood. We have had a combined over 70 years of neglect to Cleveland Public Power in this council. And in the last 3 years, we've been able to financially help stabilize Cleveland Public Power. We've worked with the administration to assure that Cleveland Public Power can be, when it can be, part of a community benefits agreement, which helps us grow our base, which helps us stabilize Cleveland Public Power. We've done a facilities assessment, which is all going to lead to the strategic plan that is getting ready to be presented to the mayor. That's all, Mr. President, within the last 3 years. So when you're dealing with so much neglect over years, we're not just going to be able to, pardon the pun, turn the lights on and fix the problem. It's going to take a strategic investment in Cleveland Public Power. But as a resident of where I live, I don't have the luxury of picking up the phone and calling the CEO of First Energy or the CEO of the Public Utilities Commission of Ohio. But one of our assets here in the city of Cleveland is we're able to pick up the phone and call the people who are in charge. And maybe we don't always get the answer that we want, but we know that we've got hardworking people on those trucks, in the rain, in the storm, doing everything humanly possible to make sure that electricity gets restored. Every once in a while, and unfortunately it happened on a holiday weekend, things happen. And in this, maybe it was the perfect storm. And I guess I'll stand up on the floor and apologize to whoever needs to be apologized to because your Easter was ruined, because you didn't have electricity. I'm sure the churches did. They should have went and prayed. I'm sorry that we weren't able to get that power restored within an average time of less than 24 hours, which usually happens with Cleveland Public Power. But I look forward to the strategic plan that's going to be presented to the mayor, and I look forward to working with the Department of Public Utilities and the director and the commissioners to assure that we do everything we humanly possible can not only fix the problems that we're facing with, which have been neglected over the last decades, but that we also, in the future, make Cleveland Public Power something that the whole city of Cleveland is proud. Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you. And that concludes public comment. I do want to commend Councilman Casey for really working closely with public utilities, because we also need to make sure First Energy is held accountable as well. This concludes this council. Madam Clerk, please excuse the absences. There are any absences. Council is adjourned to the call of the chair. Please exit the chambers and continue all conversations in the hallway so that police meeting if council will be on April the 13th, 2016. That's my last.